carnivals come to town. Rickety rides, crooked games, rancid food, and a killer's on the loose, stalking a group of young carnival goers. I'll take the Def Leppard photo mirror, a corn dog, and a body bag. I first saw Death Screams way back in the day, having rented it under its alternate title of House of Death. Prior to revisiting the film courtesy of this new Arrow Video Blu-ray release, I remembered absolutely nothing about House of Death, aka Death Screams. And that's because I could barely see what was going on. House of Death was a dark movie to watch on VHS, and I don't mean dark like irreversible dark. The nighttime scenes and the majority of this movie takes place at night were so poorly lit and just dark on the VHS release that you couldn't tell who's who, what's what, who's dead, who's alive, or even who the frickin' killer was. Luckily, in the case of this new Blu-ray release, the image quality is much brighter. But shedding additional light onto Death Screams doesn't make the events therein any easier to comprehend. For instance, the movie opens with a couple going at it on a motorcycle. It doesn't look particularly comfortable for either participant, but if there's a will, there's a way, I guess. Now get this. They're parked beside some railroad tracks, and the guy wants to time his climax with the passing of the train. Then the two are suddenly choked to death by a garrote, which makes no sense because the garrote isn't around either of their throats. It's wrapped around the backs of their necks, pressing their faces together. But that's not the only odd train-related incident in this movie. There's another character who, while walking home at night, becomes so oblivious to her surroundings that she actually allows a train to sneak up on her. She doesn't realize how closely she's walking to railroad tracks, and as we all know, trains are so silent that most of the time you don't even notice them until they're right on top of you. Right? You also have the character of Casey, who is special needs and who loves trains. He actually wears a train conductor's hat in the movie and a bright red flashing sign on his forehead that reads Red Herring. Casey disappears sometime in the second act and we never see him again. I like to think that he's actually the smartest character in the film, hopping the first train out of town until this whole killer on the loose thing blows over. Death Screams benefits from having a small town kind of vibe, and at least two fairly likable characters. The rest of the cast are made up of your token jokester, slutty girl, and virginal girl archetypes. Aside from the jokester, who's only memorable for how annoying he is, the rest of the characters are pretty interchangeable and easily forgettable. They're all supposed to be teenagers, but they're played by actors who are clearly not teenagers. Not even close. One actor in particular appears to have been at least in his mid-30s at the time. They're supposedly lifelong friends, having grown up together. However, when one friend decides to go for a skinny dip alone in the woods in the middle of the night, and shockingly doesn't return, she's quickly forgotten when a cuter friend shows up. As for the kills, the bulk of them occur during the final act. They're nothing to write home about and mostly take place off screen. We do get a hilarious kill in which a woman is shot in the shoulder with an arrow, but instead of crying out for help or running to seek help, she instead runs to a deserted carousel and decides to go for a ride. She's finished long before her ride is. And we get the always amusing, you sit next to somebody not knowing that their head is just sitting on their neck, and when you nudge them, the head falls off into your lap gag. The identity of the killer is pretty obvious, but the movie cheats in a really big way to make you think that it's not them, but in the end, it is. Years ago, as a matter of fact, I remember there being some debate online among serious horror geeks regarding who exactly the killer was in this movie. As bad as Death Screams is when it comes to having an even remotely coherent story, it's a movie with character. I dug the small town atmosphere, the carnival setting, the hefty town sheriff who, instead of a uniform, just pins his badge onto a casual shirt. And then you have Edna. Lovely Edna. Edna is a crotchety old woman who barks out dialogue like, "If his brains were TNT, he couldn't muster a fart." Death Screams is a squarely C-list slasher movie. I can only recommend it to the most ardent slasher connoisseurs. It's a movie best viewed with a good buddy or two and a lot of pure grain libation. As for this new Blu-ray release from Arrow Video, this release features a brand new 2K restoration from an archival 35mm print. Arrow Video did an excellent job restoring this movie. You can actually see what's going on now. However, there's still some issues with the night scenes. If you've ever tried to brighten a dark photo or image in, you name the photo editing software, you know that it makes the image look really bleached out and lacking in definition. That same thing happens during some of the night scenes here. However, the better lit or daytime sequences looked great, I thought. Overall, I'd give the picture quality on this release a solid 3.5 out of 5. As for the audio quality, I would give it a solid 4 out of 5. I also want to draw your attention to the packaging on this release and the awesome slipcase and how the sleeve and the slipcase just work together. This is how you do a slipcase. The sleeve is reversible, and this release comes with a booklet featuring an essay by Brian Albright. As far as extras are concerned, first up we have All the Fun of the Scare, the making of Death Screams. It's 32 minutes and 53 seconds in length. It's a new making of documentary featuring interviews with producer Charles Isom, special effects artist Worth Keeter, writer Paul Elliott, actors Hans Manship, Kurt Rector, and actor/talent wrangler Robert Billy Bob Melton, and more. They discuss the genesis of Death Screams, working with director David Nelson, shooting at a real carnival, the kills. The writer explains the killer's motive. He also explains the cheat I referred to during my review. They talk about the makeup effects, the film's cult status, and more. We get the House of Death alternate VHS opening titles, TV and radio spots, image galleries, and 2 commentaries, the first with Charles Ison and Worth Keeter, and the second commentary with The Hysteria Continues. This is a very nice Blu-ray release for Death Screams from the fine folks over at Arrow Video. Arrow did an excellent job bringing this movie out of the darkness and finally into the light. If you're a fan of Death Screams, aka House of Death, please let me know down in the comments section below. If you've already picked up this Blu-ray release from Arrow Video, please let me know your thoughts on it down in the comments section below also. If you like this video, please leave it a thumbs up and share it on social media. If you're not following me on social media, those links are in the description. As always, thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Take care, and until next time, peace. A huge shout out to all my patrons and channel members. I appreciate your generosity and support of my channel. Become a patron today and join me for exclusive live streams, get early access to videos, and have a say in what movies I review on my channel. Become a channel member and get access to exclusive badges and emotes to use when I stream. Links are in the description. Say hello to the internet, Jeremy.
Hello to the internet.